Hey everybody, welcome back to Row Country. Today I'm bringing you a Dollar Tree DIY St. Patrick's Day gnome. His name is Liam, and he's my lucky gnome that started with this foam cone from the Dollar Tree. I also picked up from the Dollar Tree these hair rollers. I picked up a set of these St. Patrick's Day pots, as well as this St. Patrick's Day headband. And I also picked up a couple bags, although I only needed one, of these golden coins. Also, you'll need some of this furry hair from the Halloween time. You could use the green, I'm using the orange. You'll need a pair of women's knee-high socks, but I picked up these actually from Big Lots that I am going to use today. Also, some baby booties and some rocks, all from the Dollar Tree. And what I like to do when I get started is just prepare everything. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to remove the booties, and we're going to keep the plastic inserts. Put those booties away. You might be able to give them to someone. And then the hair rollers, we are going to use a total of 4. 2 for the legs, 2 for the arms, and then we'll go ahead and unwrap this foam cone so that we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to start with the foot and the leg, and we're going to take advantage of that flat part on this booty insert, and we're going to cut a hole using an X-Acto knife. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want the leg to come up through the boot and support the body of this gnome. So we're going to give it a set of legs. So we will use the X-Acto knife, sort of figure out how large of a hole we need, and that's going to be perfect. And you'll do that in both. Then we'll insert the foam roller inside and up through, but we'll leave some of it down inside so that it all becomes one piece. Now we'll just take some hot glue and we'll start filling in with these rocks. The idea is to fill it but not overflow with rocks and hot glue on this. So be careful and use low temp glue. When I first started, I had my high temp on and it did melt. There is some bendable wire inside of that, so it's okay, but this is the idea. You want it filled up but not overflowing. And now you can see where we sort of put down some glue, put down some rocks, put down some more glue, etc. And now we're going to fill it up, the rest of it, with the glue. So now it's all one piece. The leg is inside and part of the foot. And you're going to do that twice because, of course, he's going to need 2 legs. Now do your best to fill it so that those sit flat when they are on the surface. So now I'm just sort of figuring out where I'm going to put a hole into the bottom part of this cone, which will be the body of the gnome. And I'm just figuring out for me just how far up I want those legs to go and how much exposure I want beneath the body. That will be determined by you. If you want a lot of leg or a little bit of leg, that's totally up to you. But I'm just going to start with my X-Acto knife and start making sort of a semi-circle, and I'm going to go as deep as I feel that that's what I need for my legs to come out. And this is sort of where I decided to stop, right in there. And you'll see that's about how much leg I'm going to have on my gnome, and that's perfect. I'm totally fine with that, but again, that's your preference. Okay, so now we're going to start working on these socks. Now these socks are going to serve a couple purposes. One is going to be the actual clothing. One is going to be part of the leg or the boot. We're going to cover the boot and the legs and also the arms. I really liked the pattern and really loved the shamrock on this, and that's why I chose these socks. Now you can choose whatever kind of socks you want. For me, this was the perfect place to cut this, and this is going to serve again as the body or the clothing on the body of the gnome, and the sock part itself that's left is going to serve as what we're going to use to cover the boots. Now I'm cutting these twice because the second sock that has the shamrock on it, I'm going to actually cut that into 4 pieces, and you'll see here in a minute. Now that first piece, we're going to bring up the body of this gnome. You do not have to come up all the way. In fact, it's better that you don't, because eventually you're going to cut away some of the top of that. And what you want to do is figure out exactly how you want that. You might need to trim off a little bit there at the bottom of it. And then now we're going to take the second sock. And as I said, we're going to cut this. So I'm inserting the arms into either side. Remember, socks have a little bit of stretch. That's what you want. And then we're going to trim up the sides of this. And we're going to try to leave the shamrock intact as best as we can. So we're going to come up the left side, and then we're going to come up the right side. And when we're done cutting this, we're going to have 4 pieces. 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and then 2 in the center, because remember, this sock is double layered. So we'll have 2 shamrock sides left over. And so here's our 4 pieces. 1 and 2 are for the legs, 3 and 4 with the shamrocks. Those are for the arms, and you'll see how we put that together here in a moment. Now what I need to do is figure out how much of the rest of this sock I need to cut away. I wanted to use the Kelly green on the toe of this guy's boot. You could totally use this one piece and do his legs, but I wanted to do them differently. So I'm figuring out where to cut that off, and I'm going to actually cut both of these pieces. So first this one, and then the other one that we had left over, we're going to cut that back exactly the same so that we can start on these boots. And as I said, I really like the Kelly green color on the toe. I think that really helps to set off these boots for this little guy. So cute. So we'll just slip them on just like you would a regular pair of socks. We're going to kind of pay attention to where the seam is that's been sewn and what have you. And then we're going to start gluing this onto the boot. Now I'm going to start gluing in the back, and what I'm actually doing is when I'm putting the glue on, I'm putting it onto the plastic piece that came with those baby booties. I'm not really putting it on to the hair roller at this time, but I'm starting at the back and then coming around to the front, and then I'm going to start sort of pulling the fabric again towards the back so that everything is sort of in the back part of this boot. The reason that you want to do this is you want this nice and tight around the ankle. That way, when you bring in the rest of the sock, it will come around and wrap there too. And that turned out really cute. I really like the pleat on those. I think it adds some character to those boots. So we'll bring in the first piece, and I'm going to use the Kelly green part of that, which just has the stretch in it. And I'm going to use that at the bottom or around the ankle of the leg for this gnome. And we'll just put on a little bit of hot glue and stretch it around, and then we'll glue it together on the other side. Now we're going to come up to the top of the leg, and we're going to leave a little bit exposed. I'm leaving about that little bit of much exposed, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wrap at the top of this leg, and I'm going to glue that together. This is going to give these socks on this gnome some slumping or slothing or something like that. I can't really think of the word at the moment, but it's going to sort of give that gathered, bunched look, like almost like his socks are too big for him. And that's what I really wanted the look to look like. I'm sorry guys, I don't know where my words are today, but I'm just going to come down a little bit at a time and glue everything together, pinching it together at the back. That's one of the details that I love about this gnome, is that the back of the leg has this pinched detail for his sock. And then when you get down to the bottom, you'll be able then to see that he's got a little bit of extra fabric down at the bottom that sort of lays over top of his boot, and I just absolutely love that. It's fitted, but then at the bottom it's not, and so it's so cute. You'll want to do that twice because of course he needs 2 legs. Okay, And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work on getting those glued into the inside of that body. So I'm just double checking again for my placement, and then I'm just going to actually put some hot glue down inside. What I'm doing at this point though was just checking to be sure that I had the shamrocks lined up. One's going to be covered by the beard, the other one's going to be on his back, and that's what I love about it. But once you get that done, then go ahead and drop in as much hot glue as you think you need. Go ahead and put the body down over top of both legs at the same time, and then set him aside and let all of that set up. And while that sets up, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my white chalk paint and paint his nose. I'm also working on hands for something else, so that's what those other 2 beads were for. You only need the one. You can use a Dollar Tree bead for that part. That's totally fine. Now I'm figuring out how we're going to do the arms. I love that the shamrock is on that. So what I decided to do is literally have this come in half. And I'm taking some hot glue on the tip or the end of that rod and gluing that, and then gluing up the back. And now I'm going to come in side to side. And so this is going to give this sort of a mitten look. He's not going to have fingers, he's just going to have a hand. And so one side is glued down, then the other side is glued down. Now we're going to lay it so that the shamrock is on the bottom right now, and we'll start coming up the side here. So we will put some hot glue there on the side. This is going to actually be the back of his arm, and we're going to glue down the other side. All of this is being glued to the rod or the curling rod itself. Now there's the top of his arm, and we have this flap on either side, and we're just going to roll that up onto the arm itself and hot glue that into place. Now don't worry about this not matching up in terms of the pattern, because that's not going to matter. You're never going to see this when it's finished. So now we're going to bring together the Kelly green part, the stretchy part, to finish off the arm. And the shamrock is on the front. Oh my gosh, guys, this is so cute. I just love it so much. Okay, now you want to make 2 of them because you need 2 arms. And now we're going to come back to the body, and we're going to sort of figure out where these are going to go. But I have to tell you, when you start this, it's going to change up a little bit, because one is going to go over top of the other. But just use your scissors, just as I did, to sort of mark where you want them to go. And now you're going to use your scissors and come through the cone, and just keep doing that. You have to sort of core it out, clean it out really good so that the arm will fit all the way through. So the one arm that's going to be his left arm is going to come all the way through in that fashion right there. And then we're going to work on where we're going to put the right arm, and that one is actually going to come underneath and sort of in the front, but not quite. And we're going to push it through to the back, and we're going to do the same thing, core it out. Now that's the placement of those. You'll notice that the left arm is behind the right arm, sticking out just a little bit, and the right arm is sticking out the back, which is totally fine because you're never ever going to see this. Now we're going to pull them out, and we're going to pull the body clothing back up, and we're going to find our holes after we get everything lined up. Make sure you have everything where you want it to be. Okay, and then we're going to find those holes, and we're going to take our scissors and put a little snip, really a little one, you don't need a big one, on either side, so that we can feed the arm back through the clothing now into place. So we're going to do the left one first, just like we did before. We'll insert it that way. You don't even have to do any hot gluing at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in the right arm the same way. This one was a little more difficult for me to maneuver. Just know that. You have to work with it a little bit. Okay? And so now we have the arms in place. We have them exactly where we want. But the final thing we need to do is cut that away. And I lost some footage. I'm sorry. But you cut that away, and then you start loading in the hot glue. Because what happens is the cone, the top of the cone would be too high for the beard and the nose and the hat to fit. So we are going to load that up with some hot glue down in there. Again, low temp so nothing melts away, and just sort of gather the top of this sock, which is the body of this gnome, and glue it all together, and then start to manipulate where you want the arms to be. The arm part that you glued down is totally fine. You can still bend these, which is what I really love about these little foam rollers that I found at the Dollar Tree. It was better than using fabric and even chenille stems. I was really pleased with that. So now I'm just going to take this headband and I'm going to remove the hat from the headband. The hat and the headband are finished off in felt, so this is really easy to just sort of snip away from the headband. And now we're left with that super cute little hat for him. And we're going to bring in his nose because we're going to need that here in a moment too. So what I'm going to do is sort of figure out where I want this beard to go, and there's a specific way that this is going to be glued down, but I want to trim it off first because I'm working with a cone here. I don't need all of that coming up around the shoulder, but we do want it in the shoulder space. So as we're looking down, I'm going to glue down the right side first, just that tip or edge of it. I'm going to lift the center and then glue down the left side, sort of bringing it in where I know that I'm going to be putting a nose. Now that piece that we lifted up in the center is where that nose is going to sit. And so we're going to put some hot glue down underneath and we're going to push the middle down, and now we're left with sort of a pleat on either side. Now we're going to go ahead and put the nose in place. It's a bead, so I have the holes going off to the left and the right side. But because we left the pleat, now I can add some hot glue to either side of the nose and pull the beard up to the nose. So it really does give it the look that the beard is wrapped around the nose, which in fact it is now, but it's not in the traditional sense of how somebody else might do a gnome. And so that's how that's going to look. Oh my gosh, there he is, guys. Look how cute he is. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, of course, is load up some hot glue on this little hat. And I'm not going to take it out to the rim of it. I'm going to sort of try to keep it here in the center, and we're going to really just line it up over the nose and the beard and also the top of this gnome's body. After we just put some final touches there on that, we'll shove that down on and we'll make sure that it's lined up. We have the buckle sort of offset. Oh my gosh, guys, look how cute he is. Okay, and you just want to keep that in place, and that's what he looks like. Now I am going to go ahead and take some more hot glue, and at this point I'm going to bring the rim down over the nose and make sure that it is glued in place. Oh my gosh, I'm really loving how he's turning out, and if you are too, please give me a thumbs up on my video so that I know to bring you more content like this. Now because we use the foam rollers, those arms are bendable. His left arm is bent at the elbow. His right arm is sort of up in the air, and you're going to find out why here in just a moment. Now I took one of these little pots from the Dollar Tree, St. Patrick's area, and I also picked up these gold coins. I wanted him to be holding a bucket of money, and I wanted it to appear as though he had a whole lot of it, and I didn't really want to take the couple bags that I had and just fill it up. I really wanted it to be overflowing. So what I'm doing is I am hot gluing these coins to the rim of this bucket and also kind of staggering them on top of each other. And so that is going to give the appearance that this is a full bucket and that he's actually got a bucket that's overflowing with money. But to figure out where I need to place the rest of these, I do go ahead and put it on the crook of his arm or right there at his elbow so that it's hanging off of his arm like that. And now I'm just going to continue to hot glue these coins around the rim of this bucket, and then I'll turn it around to the front. Now these coins have a saying on the back, and they have a 4-leaf clover, I believe it is, on the front, and I'm going to hot glue one of these to the front of his bucket with the clover showing, and then I'm also going to give him a coin to hold in his hand that is also a 4-leaf clover showing through. Hey, I just want to take a moment to say hey to my returning subscribers. Thank you guys so much for coming back and watching another one of my videos. It means so much to me. If you're new here, why don't you consider hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Row Country family here on YouTube. We would really love to have you. I'm super close to 1,000 subscribers. Guys, here he is, Liam, my lucky St. Patrick's Day gnome for 2020. He turned out so much better than I ever could have imagined, and I just cannot wait to bring you my Valentine's to St. Patrick's Day 2020 buffet tour that will be coming soon, so stay tuned for that. This was my Dollar Tree DIY St. Patrick's Day gnome. Listen, while you're here, go ahead and watch another video, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Until next time, bye.